Oh, you started too early. It just started.
No, I am Chris,
I'm Edison,
I'm Kyle.
and
and this
this
is
is
Takes and Thanks.
Thanks and thanks.
and maybe you can thank them for the stress relief because tanks calm the mind.
There you go. I was like, is you going to finish this? Welcome back! Tonight we are highly disorganized because we are adulting all day, every day. But that's not going to stop us from getting on here and hanging out and talking
and
about
yeah, I
science.
somehow ended up working 2 jobs this week. So
When do you stop your last job?
Sunday,
Oh,
Oh,
good.
or I could just
Fun
go turn
job.
in my keys tonight. I was half tempted to today.
just do it. Do it. Full send.
Full send.
Don't screw him over.
Yeah, it doesn't screw over the
Yeah.
people that I want to screw over. Anyway,
Exactly.
Anyway, Kyle, this week you've been still gimpy. How are you feeling?
Gimpy. Worthless. My wife's chasing kids around and I'm stuck down here. Not a great feeling.
Vanished.
So. Working game. I bought Farm Sim 22. That's probably the most fun, boring game ever. Such a
That
time
is,
waster.
it's that and Power Wash Simulator, man. Power Wash Simulator is so good.
or like
It's
cookie
like
clicker.
so boring. It's fun. I don't know why. I'm just chilling here, tilling soil. It's
There you
great.
go.
Chris, you're working hard. The new
Yeah,
job.
so we got interns this last week, and then we got another batch of interns coming in
How
Monday.
bad's the hazing?
Pretty bad. Brutal,
Yeah.
actually. I make sure people cry, obviously.
Poor fish water.
No, it's just honestly, we are taking a little bit of time to try to really narrow in focus on on-site education and interacting with people in the park. And
Yeah.
so it's honestly just getting interns to be relaxed to talk to strangers because they've been in this life of stranger danger for their
Yeah.
entire adulthood.
Because they're 12.
Yeah,
Good
well,
job.
Never.
yeah. I mean, they're over 16, right? That's what actually I think it's over 18 to be an intern, but like they're
Never
all
worked
like,
retail.
well,
12.
yeah, they're all just kind of like, hi, this is a sloth bear. It
Yeah.
nicks with its claws.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put one of you in a sloth suit, and we're gonna walk around. You're gonna interview people. What do you know about sloths?
It's like that joke.
Love to do it.
I forget how it goes, so I'm gonna butcher it. But it's like that joke where the guy ends up in the gorilla suit at the zoo, and then he like bumps into the lion, and the lion takes off his whispers like, "Don't screw this up for me."
Yeah. Free room and board, man. All the steaks you can want. I love
Jeez.
it. And
Yeah.
Edison, you're just
Outta
working
here,
2
you-
jobs, I guess, but that ends Sunday.
Yeah, but I quite enjoy the second job, so that's been something
The
fun.
Petco.
Yeah, it's fun just wandering around Petco all day.
Quickly, what is the biggest thing you like about it?
Um,
Doesn't have to be the biggest, but something you enjoy about that job.
it's like a 2-factor thing. I'm one of the weird people that actually enjoys the people side of retail because 99% of people you run into are quite decent and they have dogs with them. And so it's like I get to pet the dog all day and,
Yeah.
there's fish there and I get to talk to people about fish and just run around and like pick up orders for people. It's a lot of fun.
I thought it'd be fun working for like a local fish store, just being their plant guy. You know what I mean? Like I don't know why. If I had to take an extra job, I wouldn't care if it even paid well. Like
Right.
Just
make
be
the
That's
something
cash.
for you to learn, you know?
Yeah, hang out, talk with people. Like I don't know. I think it'd be fun. But
and then I got 2 big things of fish. I think the first one is not confirmed, but I'm like 89.7% sure I saw a pea puffer fry today.
ooh,
It was
they're getting on.
tiny. It
Can I
was
ask where
tiny.
you got your statistical data for that? Because 89.7 is pretty specific, sir.
Yeah, it's just below 90, so I'm like, But yeah, it was like this little dot, except it wasn't a dot. It was a little bit bigger than a dot, and it was like shaped like a pea puffer, and it was moving like a pea puffer, and I was like, oh,
It must be a pea puffer then.
I would assume so. And then the other piece of news, I have already used my employee discount, and
Uh-oh.
we got this little guy, except he's not a little guy.
His eyes are black like coal, like my heart.
He's a big chongus.
Cute. He's cute. I like him.
I do definitely have a soft spot for betas, and it's sad because I work at a place where people usually don't have like any knowledge about betas, and so I have to be the bearer of bad news and be like, no, you cannot put that beta in a cup that is for, you know.
That's why you're the educator.
Tis true.
You got to be the bearer of bad news. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
We have no articles this week.
So I did check, by the way. Stingray has not given birth yet.
I got money riding on that. Bye, Edison. See you later. Hope you're having a good night.
Where did Edison go, guys? Oh no,
he's back.
He's back. Back again.
Back from the dead.
Do.
He has risen. Okay.
But yes, I got that little guy, except he's like twice the size of a regular beta. So yes.
Wait, you got him?
Yeah.
Oh, your employee discount. Okay, connecting. I'm all slow tonight.
Yeah.
Bear with me.
And also a new filter, so I didn't blow around another beta in his tank because it was too powerful.
You need to do a short, and don't even worry about editing it, with that song that everyone uses. It goes do ba do ba do ba do ba do ba do ba do do do.
Yeah.
Do ba do do do, and then like swimming around. Oh, I don't know why I think that always makes me laugh, especially when it's like something dumb and cute, like little and cute, you know.
Or like the pea puffers just doing their thing.
Yeah, they're just cute doing nothing, like little shrimp. Cute doing nothing.
But shrimp are fun because they have like the little pictures and they're like always grabbing things.
They're always busy, man. I'm like, what is this guy doing? He's like rebuilding Rome, like in my living room every day. They're like so taking off, swimming around tank. Okay, I've got a big sciencey question for you guys.
Uh-oh.
Science.
But we're gonna do questions because we don't have any articles. But I have one. Last week, I believe it was Chris, may have been Edison, said that plants can uptake carbonates or bicarbonates.
Sometimes, yes.
Some can.
Okay. Blows my mind because there are people in the forefront of the hobby who are running 0 kh. However, generally the people that are in the forefront of aquascaping, not fishies, sorry, non-fish people, they run it at 0, but they inject CO2. And then other people are like, well, this guy's running a 0 kh, which I know you can get weird pH swings without buffers to kind of help stabilize it on the carbonate side of things. But I would assume that on the low-tech side, low energy, non-CO2 injected, you'd want some KH or carbonates in there for plants to some degree. So
depends on the plant.
Well, and by injecting,
what are all the depends? I need to absorb this.
Okay, so in my experience, as well as taking 2 advanced botany classes, so I don't want to say I might know a little bit, but I know a little bit. In most natural waters, there are 2 main plants that uptake calcium carbonate and actually store it within their body as hard parts. Yeah, so there's anything from the family of Halimediidae, which is a saltwater plant, and they're actually the primary producers for calcium carbonate, actually, in the oceans. So they basically build out their leaf tissue, and in the center, they have this empty porous space that is basically to be filled with calcium carbonate. And then when it dies, the leaves shut off, but the calcium carbonate remains, right?
Yeah.
And then in freshwater, hornwort is very common in like local rivers and streams to capture calcium carbonate because it depends on how spiky it is. You can tell how much calcium carbonate is within the cells. It doesn't do it the same way as Halomediidae does, where it fills a vacuole basically. In hornwort, it's more crystalline aggregates in the leaves blades themselves. So it becomes more spiky the more rocks it has in it, basically.
Is there...
Well, and from what I understand, it also is able to use the carbonate as a carbon source.
Yes, but it's difficult because
the
issue is that there's only really 4 types of photosynthesis that are used in plants. There's CAM, C4, I'm trying to think here. C3, not alcoholation. What's the word I'm thinking of? It's respiration, but with ethanol. And then just C1, which is regular plant respiration, right?
Totally.
Well, yeah, regular plant photosynthesis and respiration. Those happen at the same time, sir. Anyway, the last one would be your carbonate source. It would be more of like a CAM C4 plant, as in what succulents are. Those are usually what we consider those, because they store the carbon within them and then use it as needed. The issue is that in hornwort, the same thing that turns on CAM plants has to also turn on hornwort, which is it needs to be very dry, very dark, and then they will photosynthesize with or not very dark, very hot, lots of light, so like Arizona basically.
So AI said many plants can use bicarbonate as a carbon source, including green stoneworts, which you were saying.
Yep.
I can't even pronounce that word. Agarria densa, that's a common one. Vallisneria uses
I didn't know
it
that
well.
one.
Well,
right.
Yeah.
So from what I understand, it's more plants from nutrient-rich waters because there's more GHKH for them to use.
And it's saying too that in a low CO2 environment is when they do it, which was my assumption. If you're not providing it, then they have to go elsewhere for it, right?
Yeah.
It's just interesting. I just wonder, like going back to the original statement of someone having no carbonate, aside from being somewhat unstable pH kind of deal, you get a little bit of stability, but then you also get maybe a little bit of buffer for plants on the carbon side of things, just in case, it doesn't sound like all of them uptake it. So
injecting CO2 will add some carbonates because of how that works. So the CO2, yes, it's stable, but it will actually because of how weirdly unstable but stable water is, it'll start taking up some of those ions and become carbonic acid, which is bicarbonate with an extra hydrogen.
Oh, okay. I didn't know the chemistry side of that. I knew that's why your pH drops, and we use the pH to measure the amount of CO2 saturation, in the water column kind of thing. But that's interesting. I didn't know it attaches to bicarbonate.
Yeah, Edison, why don't you pull up that graph I sent you?
Yeah, let me.
So that way
you guys are sending graphs in the middle of the week.
Yeah,
I sent this to him like 4 months ago. Okay, if it's on you if you didn't see it.
Think
you guys are so nerdy. I love it. I love nerding out with you guys. I seriously post on my Facebook wall, "Get nerdy, come hang out with us," because some of my friends jump on there like, "What is that podcast?" And I'm like, "It's nerdy. Just either watch it or don't."
Talk BS the entire time.
The whole time.
I love it though. I absolutely love it. I appreciate all you guys' knowledge too.
Okay, here it is. Let me pull it up. Hopefully it doesn't crash this time. Where is it?
Got it.
So,
all right, that's it.
Doesn't look familiar.
Doesn't look familiar. But here's the thing. So you can see as the pH changes. So this is a buffer solution. This is what a buffer does in essence. This is the limnology of a specific ion that we know of. So with carbonate hardness, it's measuring the bicarbonate and the carbonate. So those are the ones on the higher end of the pH scale, right?
Your
As
mouse
pH, right? I can't just point to it,
Okay.
but I don't know if the mouse does anything.
Yeah, the mouse
Yeah, I
does
can see your
do
mouse.
stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, right, the different colored lines are referring to how common it is, like what the proportion is, right? Kind of cool little graph here. But basically, you notice this the carbonic acid is CO2 with an H2O.
Yeah.
And so when you blow bubbles in water, for example, that's why it acidifies the water, because it'll become this acid basically and start donating a hydrogen ion, because that's where it likes to be, is bicarbonate, especially if you have a more neutral pH.
Interesting. And it goes to what we were talking about last week, where people argue with me all the time. Don't put sodium bicarbonate in your tank; it'll blow it up. And it's like, if it eventually wants to be a bicarbonate anyways, like especially at a neutral pH, then
Yeah.
and the sodium's so small, it's not going to do anything, people. Unless you're like not doing water changes for 5 years and you're constantly dumping baking soda in your tank for some random reason.
Yeah.
Horrible.
But that's interesting.
But this graph, I sent it to Edison a while ago, but it's a very common graph when we talk about like the current day and age of normal waterways and active, lakes and stuff, because it shows the concentration proportion is equal to an amount of pH. So if we knew the concentration of, let's say, bicarbonate ions, because you can measure those a lot easier than pH you can, because you have to do multiple samples for pH versus taking a sample back to a lab for bicarbonate, you can deduce what your pH is and how much of a buffer capacity you have until it moves up to the next scale, which is really awesome.
That's crazy.
And a lot of these images that you'll find, so you can find this image online really easy. You can find a lot of images like it. One of the there's like half of them that'll actually show this is just CO2, because a lot of the times it'll just donate that oxygen to the two hydrogens and just pop out of solution.
Bounce out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's more stable that way.
Yeah, and in our day and age, the partial pressure of CO2 in our atmosphere is the controlling factor. That's how it's always been. And so if we had, as greenhouse gases get stronger and climate change happens, technically that would go up the amount before it pops out.
Right, and that's the interesting thing about chemistry, is it's not just a one-way reaction. It's where it reaches equilibrium. So
I was going to say equilibrium.
Right. So you have to reach equilibrium between the CO2 in the atmosphere versus the CO2 in the water, and the CO2 in the water likes to be in bicarbonate as well. So it has to reach an equilibrium between all of them. And so as you're injecting CO2, it will actually put KH into the water.
Love it. That's interesting. I've never seen a chart like this. And it all makes 100% sense. Especially when you get to, like we're saying, greenhouse gases, or as global warming happens. Not warming, climate change. Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah.
You almost got there.
Yeah, you hear people go, it's getting colder, the global warming's, and it's like, climate change. It's not warmer.
Yeah, it's getting colder. That's a problem.
More extreme. I know, dude, we got hit with that blizzard last year, and it's like California got hit with a blizzard. Like, is
like,
insane.
what the heck?
Yeah, it just isn't happening. Well, thank you for talking more about that, because I talked to someone today about running 0 kH, and I was like, it doesn't feel like a good idea from my experience in this. And then I said, furthermore, someone said XYZ, which you guys, I'm talking about carbonates. So I'm like, if anything, if there's a small chance that a plant could benefit from a little bit of carbonate, throw it in there. Like you don't have to go to 15, a KH of 15. You can keep it at like 2, 4, something small. But at least you got a little bit of something in there for the
right. And so there's usually going to have to be some other sort of buffering, because if you have fish, if you have plants, any living thing really, it's going to change the pH.
Yeah.
That's
Hydration.
kind of the whole thing of living, is taking in nutrients, chemicals, whatever you want to call it, and changing them.
Exchanging. That leads us to our next question, which I'm
Cool.
glad you asked. When should you do a water change?
We've already talked about this, I feel like.
He's just getting on me.
No, not at all. No, because there's two schools of thought. There's the I don't change any water, and then there's the heavy water changes weekly.
Yeah, yeah, I thought we did, but I mean, we could cover it again if you want.
I'll skip it. No, I don't want to.
No, I like covering it. It's a good topic.
Yeah, let's cover it. I'm in the boat of never water change, just top off, but that's just me.
I'm in the boat of it depends.
And I'm on the 50% minimum, 75% if you got an issue. So what happens to NO4 nitrates, NO3, when you don't change them? When you don't do water change?
Well, yeah. So for me, I guess I don't just set it and forget it. I do monthly or like every 4 months water changes, so that way it doesn't get super sludgy and my canister filter doesn't get clogged. But well, first off, before any chemical reactions happen, as something gets super murky with NO3s, so nitrates go up, the susceptibility to bacterial infections also goes up.
Also,
dramatically.
Weird thing I learned researching corridors, of all things. Corridors, actually, the NO3 actually will cause disease in their barbels.
Yeah.
So you can tell. So that's like a really easy way to tell how well an aquarium fish store, whatever, is keeping their fish. You look at the corridors. Do they have good barbels? Especially corridors that have been there a while. But anyway,
I decided I was going to feed my shrimp because I decided to turn the upstairs tank into a shrimp tank.
Oh, there you go.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. So I've heard that NO3 can be processed out into something else. That is a gas?
A gas, plus it can also go back in the other direction in the chemical equation, because the bacteria won't be able to keep up with. So the nitrifying bacteria won't be able to keep up with the amount of nitrates, because it has to work twice as hard for the higher concentration. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so as it works twice as hard, it will eventually give up, and you'll start seeing swells in NO2.
Interesting. You're like backlogged.
Well, and you have to understand, we talked about this whole limnology thing again. Equilibrium. That's the whole thing. If there's too many NO3s, it's like how we breathe oxygen and breathe out CO2. If you're in a room full of CO2, you're not going to be able to breathe much oxygen and breathe. And respirate.
Are oxygen levels and CO2 levels independent from each other? Is that just a bad analogy? Sorry.
So it was a bad analogy, but yes.
It was okay. Yeah. So basically what I'm saying is that they're using this ammonia they're oxidizing this ammonia into nitrites and nitrate. And basically if there's too much nitrate, too much product, the reactant side is not going to be able, it's going to push it more towards the reactants, not the products.
So what is your depends? When do you do water changes?
It depends on how your tank's set up. When I do water changes is when my nitrates get too high. So if I'm like looking at like, over 40, over 80, somewhere around there, I'm like, okay, maybe it's time for a water change. Otherwise, it's like, if you got plants, if you've got different things going on in there, it generally takes care of itself.
Balances itself out.
Yeah.
I just tend to see a lot of algae in tanks that aren't water changed much.
Oh, you
And
would
maybe
hate this tank.
maybe it's because because my goal is my goal is no algae. I don't want it sterile, but like I don't want be pulling handfuls of stuff out of it either. But there was one person in particular I was helping this last week, and she was like, "What is this? Is this BBA?" She had kind of a close-up shot of her tank. Unfortunately, it just looked like husbandry was not there. So I listed off like 4 things that it's BBA, and here's why. And one of them was filtration, and she had a medium-sized sponge filter in a 65-gallon. And I was like, that's probably your cause, and I'm like, you're probably not doing water changes. No, I thought, father fish. And I'm like, you got to do some water changes. You got to, she's like, well, how do you know? And I'm like, I'm not trying to be a jerk. Look at your tank. Like, the tank doesn't look healthy, like to some
Not to
degree.
mention, you have also had 18 years of experience, and I would listen to you.
Yeah, but I don't know. I throw that around. I threw that around today, and someone's like, "Well, I have 48 years," and it's like, to some degree, experience can be there, and it can mean knowledge, but it can also mean that you've just sat in the hobby and not learned anything for 48 years or whatever. Like, so that was it. And I try to be nice and kind about it because I'm not in these groups to rip on people, but it's like, like not trying to be a jerk, but it doesn't look like you do water changes, and the tanks just look like that to me. So I don't know. I've just never really had success balancing without the fresh water each week, but I also too have been my trajectory has been in a direction that requires the way I design the tanks requires those water changes too. So
Right.
I haven't tried to do the father fish stuff.
And that's I guess that's my hesitation about the ASG method. No ripping on it. But
No, yeah, it's work.
high nutrients means it's got to go somewhere.
Rip all on it.
No, what it is you get the plants burning through that nutrients.
Right.
Like faster than algae can develop.
It's just how it is in my head. I guess it's like we're adding, but I guess it's not like the nutrients that I'm used to, like
Yeah,
nitrates. Like,
it's a trip because we used to think, and to some degree, we used to think that fertilizer meant algae. Period. And the more you put them, even more algae you get. But like in a 75-gallon that I had, I was putting close to like 100 mils of micros and macros every single day at really high concentrations, and it would just burn through it all. Like I was almost not dosing enough. But that's the thing. It's got to be, you've got to get those plants moving. You got to get like carbon injected, high par, like in essentially they just outcompete the algae. And generally too, correct me if I'm wrong, happy plants are producing oleochemicals, which are kind of a natural defense anyways, which is that green water lab bottle that is all over my Instagram and Facebook. Dose it, you won't have algae because it's liquid oleochemical. It's like, just balance your tank.
and here's the thing with oleochemical, it only works to a certain degree, and the plants are only going to produce it when they're happy. If you just it's like basically it's like trying to dose this oleochemical without the natural side of why this oleochemical happens.
Yeah. The environment that stimulates it.
Right. If you have an algae problem, you need to look at why you have an algae problem, not solutions to the algae problem. It's like, you're peeing blood, but maybe you should look at why you're peeing blood, not just stopping peeing blood. you know what I mean?
Some very weird.
I don't know why that's the first thing that comes to mind, but it is.
About that. I'm interested. We were talking before the stream about Edison setting up an ASG method tank, and I just would, you don't got to keep it long term. I just would be interested in your take, in your observations, and just your feedback on if it's worth it to you. Especially the way you run your tanks. Like, do you enjoy? To me, it's a little bit of a labor of love, but is it enjoyable to you? Like, the fruits of your labor is basically with a tank like that. But I don't know. It'd be interesting if we ended up doing it.
Well, yeah, and you'd have to. Here's what I want to do. I guess we'll have to wait a little bit, because I want to put in the plants that you would recommend. I want to do like full ASG.
Okay. I mean, plants don't matter. It'll grow anything.
It'll grow anything. Okay.
It'll grow anything you want to grow, man.
Okay.
Like
Just to
I'm
put
telling you,
hornwort.
it's like overly prolific to the point where it's like
Hornwort died in there. So that's why I'm like, let's try this.
Well, first thing, 100% water change. Get that water chemistry where it needs to be. That water's coming out. We'll talk more offline about it. See if it's something you want to do.
No, it would be fun. It would be a fun experiment.
Yeah, just a little, for a little bit. Okay.
Just a little.
Let's pick something maybe more fish related.
Woohoo!
Should there? No, not that one. Here's kind of a cool one. How do you keep brackish fish?
You get brackish salt, and I can't stress this enough because at the previous location that I worked at, they basically said they were like, we're just going to use regular instant ocean crystals salt. Do you know how many like archer fish they went through? They went through hundreds of archer fish. And then I got there and I said, you know that they make brackish salt, right? And they were like, no.
Okay, I've never kept brackish fish. I'm ignorant to it as well, but I don't own an aquarium. So there's that.
It was so like that was one of those times that and then when they told me they don't remineralize their tap water, their RO water after when they put it into freshwater tanks, I was like, how?
Do they drink their alkaline water at home?
Yeah. Anyway,
the pH of 9.5 water.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
So anyway, with all that being said, in brackish tanks, there is a possibility to do something horrible, and this is what I am used to. You put a whole bunch of salt in a tank that's brackish, which is, above 0.1 salinity or 0.1 or 1.0 parts per trillion of salt. A bunch of river rocks, a bunch of river pieces, no plants, and some archer fish. That is not what you want to do for a brackish tank. What you really want to do for a brackish tank is live plants, lots of really nice wood pieces, lots of gravel bottoms with sand kind of on the sides, brackish salt, archer fish, a couple crayfish too, because crayfish are huge in brackish environments, mollies if you really want them, and it would look stunning. It would look beautiful.
Yeah. What about pea puffers are brackish too, no?
Pea puffers are not brackish.
Wait, pea puffers are black, right?
Pea puffers are fresh.
Yeah, the freshwater side. I thought they were brackish.
No.
There are puffers that probably are.
Most puffers are probably brackish. Like the green spot puffer. They are brackish, but they can survive in freshwater. But like, that's not to say that they should go in freshwater.
That's what. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I remember thinking of a puffer where it's exactly that, where it's like you can keep it in freshwater. It really should be in brackish, but then everyone just kept it in freshwater.
Yep.
Guys,
you could. I mean, you could also, like I said, I'd do mollies in a brackish tank because they would look good, right? Especially if you had high flow rate that some of those brackish fish like. Man,
I hear Amanos are good in brackish. They actually will only breed in brackish.
Amanos?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
what I heard hearsay.
Nerites.
Yeah, Nerite snails are also a really good option for them too.
Brackish.
Interesting. Yeah, because they only breed in brackish water, so
yeah,
it's their natural habitat.
Yeah, they lay eggs in fresh water, but then it doesn't do anything until the brackish water comes in.
Yeah.
Oh, it's that.
It's a coast.
Trigger.
Yeah. It's a coastline trigger basically. So as salinity rises upstream because the coastline is rising. So
interesting.
You know who we need to get on here? Your brackish friend.
Mine?
Yeah, the one that I thought you didn't you do something with someone who wanted to do brackish stuff? Or was that Blackwater and I'm just being stupid?
Blackwater, but you're not being stupid. Yeah, Melanie was the other one.
Yeah, okay.
The pro aquascaper. She does gorgeous Blackwater tanks for sure.
I'll have to find it again. Someone did a really good brackish tank in one of the groups on Facebook that I was
Yeah,
really
it's cool. It's
jealous
interesting
about.
just because I've never kept them. I've never been inspired to keep one. I would say usually it's like livestock driven or plant driven. It's like, what is that? Like Tiger Boy that I was trying to get on here.
Yeah.
We just never responded, but it's okay.
In chat, Tim Freshwater tanks a mono breed in fresh. The babies need brackish though, which that makes sense, right?
Right.
So
Tank divider.
tank divider, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, no, that totally works, bro. That totally works.
Yeah, you can keep like 2 betas in there.
Little salt bay on the right side. Right? No.
Jesus.
With table salt and like no,
Yeah.
that like sea salt table salt, you know.
So really it would be as easy as buying a product and it tells you probably X amount in a gallon.
Yeah.
That's pretty easy. That's interesting. I thought it would be
Yep,
more
and
to it.
so I guess it also depends too, because they're under the assumption that you're just doing a straight brackish that's like a river brackish in the sense like it's on a delta or something with
Yeah.
low moving water. There are some brackishes that are not in slow moving water, like evaporative basins, basically. So like you have a huge flooding event that happens, fills up an entire lake, basically. And then as it doesn't get recharged, it starts to evaporate, which drops the salinity, which rises the salinity.
Yeah.
And so that would make it brackish too. That's not one of the more common ways, but that is actually the most common way that snails and crayfish breed, is in those huge events. The eggs get thrown off, and then as salinity raises, the eggs hatch, and then they all go back out all at the same time.
And
That's
from what I
crazy.
understand,
Nature's nuts.
most brackish fish are basically in between salt and fresh, like actually physically in between salt and fresh, because that's why they're able to take the swing in salinity one way or the other. But you have to keep them in captivity and keep them happy. They need to be able to have some salinity because that's what they're used to.
Yeah. And they probably can't swing too far for too long, I would assume. Similar to like the pupper.
I think because Tim just put another comment, he doesn't know how it works really. It's more migratory, so usually a lot of fish and also a lot of shrimp, and actually a lot of living things in the ocean and freshwater have a huge parental investment when it comes to their offspring, in the fact that they will die in this chance for their offspring to survive. And so in this instance, right, where we have babies that require brackish, the Amanos will probably release all of their eggs upstream, die, and then their eggs will hatch as soon as they hit brackish downstream.
Actually, I think Amanos, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm probably wrong, but I read an article or two on breeding Amanos because I was curious. I believe that the Amanos can actually survive. They do well. They do okay in brackish as their young hatch, because they keep them like other shrimp. They hatch the young, and then I believe it's more of a coastal rising and dropping.
Oh, okay. So it's more of a like a trigger sense, if anything.
Trigger sense, and that's where the babies need the brackish to survive.
I'm wondering then if instead of the adults dying off, they just release the eggs and they float downstream ever so slightly and then land wherever. And then
No, they carry them. They carry them till they hatch, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting.
So you have to, like, when you have that pregnant, well, I guess not pregnant, but the shrimp, the female shrimp that's carrying the eggs that are fertilized, you have to like adjust it to the brackish water and then let the babies hatch in there, and then adjust her back, and then adjust the babies when they're
that was my thinking, is like, well, who knows if the parents stay around or take off to more fresh and then babies catch up. But it's like, if you could trigger breeding from them by having it not as brackish or fresh, and then start bringing brackish parameters in, they breed, and then you fade them back out to fresh. Like,
Yeah, no, they breed
That's
in
true.
they will breed in the freshwater. They just breed. The babies just don't survive.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Interesting.
We're gonna have a mono expert educate us.
Yeah,
I
definitely
do.
not me.
I desperately want B-roll footage of Amanos. So if anybody has it,
I'll see if I can
Oh,
get some for us.
yeah, we
You
just
guys want some?
actually I could just text Rick. He probably has Amanos.
I
My
also
mind
have
went
a
there too. I'm
monos.
like, we should have. We should.
I also have a monos with my pea puffers of all things.
Oh,
They-
really?
They're
yeah,
probably
You don't get
fine though.
nipped on?
Your Amanos are probably big enough.
no, they're little monos,
Eh,
and the pea puffers just don't care.
I love Amanos. Amanos are so great.
They're
Yeah,
awesome.
they're like the G of shrimps. Like they can get. I hear they can get kind of aggressive too.
They can get pretty big too.
Yeah, but they're
Yeah,
not as bad as whisker shrimp.
they get pretty big.
Or ghost shrimp.
Any topics? Anything else come to mind to you guys? You want me to keep picking?
I think we can
John?
move to the big discussion because it's almost 9. And
Let's do it. So now that Edison works at a big box store, which will be unnamed, we had a question where if you could redesign the fish department in a big box store, what would it look like? Or if you had to keep it the same, what upgrades would you make? Who wants to go first?
I'm curious also if in chat Tim can type out what he would suggest too, because
Yeah.
I know he keeps tanks and he sells from them. So
Tim, tell me how you would design a fish tank department. I want to hear what Tim's got to say.
it's definitely true.
As he's typing, Chris, how would you design it?
I think one of the biggest opportunities missed in a lot of aquatic stores is, first off, they don't really have really good beta displays, and so that'd be something I'd want to change. I don't know if I'd possibly be able to, obviously, but it would mean it's more meaningful to me as a conservation biologist to see a beta being well taken care of before I receive it versus I have to take good care of a beta after I receive it.
You're like rescuing it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I would change. Another thing I would change would be I would try to narrow down the amount of shared sumps between tanks. So I know right now, usually a lot of those big, huge walls, they share all 4 tanks to one sump, all 4 tanks to one sump, all 4, I would like to see that change to like 2 tanks per sump. And I know that would drive the cost ridiculously up. I'm not saying that it won't be cheap.
So when you come to Utah, I'll have to show you this LFS that's near here. Really great LFS, but they have each tank individually filtered. So individually, so they can quarantine that tank if something goes wrong, and they frequently will quarantine their fish because they don't want you to get bad product. They're really good about that.
And that's where my head is going, honestly. It's for ease of Tim didn't get our question, but he asked if any more rock vids are coming. Soon. Edison's water video is coming out on Monday, so get ready for that.
Okay, good, because I want to show it to people, but I'm like, I want to get the YouTube views too.
Anyway, I think that's one of the biggest issues about at least big box pet stores is they don't have the systems in place to like help quarantine diseases. And so zoonosis is like a huge part, not only of my job, but also a part of conservation biology in general. And so to be able to help that through biotechnology is huge difference. So those are my 2 big things.
So it's less about water volume per se and more about quarantining and the spread of disease.
I feel like it's more about perfecting what you already currently have versus adding more to the system. Well, I guess there's no, No surprise there, working for an AZA accredited location, perfecting things before you buy things.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen my local LFS for salt has a big wall of like drawers, and they all trickle. I guess they couldn't have to trickle, but like you could have like beta drawers where instead of those sad little cups, you could do like fresh water, kind of dump out that, get some fresh, put it back, kind of thing. Like,
so one of
interesting.
the better betas systems I've seen is KG Tropicals. He's got like 320 tanks now on multiple shelves, but they're all drip system.
Yeah.
Super pretty.
Yeah, I guess the problem with beta is that I understand. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. So hate me later, but I understand that betas have a very high turnover, right? They come in and they're out within the week, right? You can't just say like, okay, well, let's provide them all a tank. It's they have a high turnover. They can't be housed with each other. Like you can put a whole bunch of platies in a tank and sell them out of that tank, but like betas cannot be put in the same tank, especially the males. At a so it's like they have a high turnover. They're popular fish for a reason. They come in, they go out, and it would just be expensive for no real benefit for the company to put a whole bunch of tanks. Obviously, it would make a lot of impact on the community and on the fish keeping community to say, look, these people are like doing really good things with their betas. And I know where I'm working, we'll actually throw the betas in there that are into the fish wall that aren't doing well when there's space available, and like we put the female betas in the fish wall because they can kind of cohabitate, and there's enough decor that we throw in the tanks too that
they have enough room.
They can establish territory. So there's like 3 or 4 females in maybe a 20 gallon. It's not optimal, but it's better because they're not like struggling in a little cup.
It gives them a break, and by the time they start picking fights, you can probably get them back out, or under another.
And the females are a lot more chill. I don't know what it is about big box pet stores and their betas, but I've had really good luck with their betas being just chill.
Supply chains, maybe something like that. What would you change about big box stores, Mr. Edison?
Oh, it's a good question. I would think
it can be a positive thing. It doesn't have to be negative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a thing I would change is just maybe educating the staff a little bit. Actually caring more about a fish than just the potential profits. You know what I mean? Maybe don't sell tanks under 5 gallons, because anything under 5 gallons is just not good. And most people who are going to be buying those small tanks are inexperienced people who don't know how to keep the water parameters stable, don't know what a GH is, don't know what a KH is, don't know what a pH is. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you don't know that, there's no way you're going to be able to balance a 2.5 gallon.
Tim gave us this answer. He said fish belong in tanks, not cups.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that they should be in the cups. I'm just saying from a big business point of view, I can at least have some understanding.
Yes.
I can understand why it happens.
Betas
I don't like that it happens.
Bottles. No.
Betas belong in
Gatorade bottles in bathrooms and ice rinks.
That stuck with me if you can't tell.
Yeah. Kyle, what would you do?
The two biggest things that come to mind are pushing more of a natural setting for fish. As much as it was very fun for me to buy a bunch of big box decor, I really did like it. You buy out the whole Roman Empire set, and have some fake plants with it. It looks cool when you're starting. It's almost 20 years into the hobby now. It seems sad to some degree to have fish hanging out with these big plastic pieces of decor. Like, there's not a big push for, natural hardscape. They're kind of getting into plants, but it's like some of the plants aren't even aquatic. that they're selling in the fish store area. It's like, why are we selling those?
I did see, and I was going to send a photo of it, but I did see PetSmart is the one that got the contract for this, which I find really funny because Petco also sells Fitz stuff. But Fitz botanicals are being sold at PetSmart now. So like you can buy like a package of botanicals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the other part too. They sell the weirdest friggin' things. Like go try to find, they sell API. Heaven forbid they sell a GH and KH test kit. Like they sell the most random stuff. I'm like, half of this doesn't even help like true fish keepers. It just seems like frilly dilly fun quick grab stuff.
Like cash grab stuff, yeah.
Yeah, like just the basics of setting up a natural planted tank with fish and the harmony that goes with that whole setting, and then the products that support that. Like it doesn't seem like rocket science, but again, it goes back to the whole.
And I think it would also help policy wise. This is just something that came to mind. That I didn't mean to cut you off. Policy wise, I think it would be really beneficial for there to be a policy that says you can't buy a tank and a fish at the same time.
That would be awesome. I guarantee you profits would plummet and nobody would ever come to shop at that store anymore. But it would be awesome, right?
There's a certain metric. I don't know how open they are about it, but I know that big box pet stores want to be selling two things at once. You know what I mean? It's this concept of, well, if you're here for this, why not have this? You know, which does boost sales. I totally understand. We gotta run a business, but it's like you can't just set up a tank in one day, especially if you have no pre-cycled media. You don't, you know.
But I have my media from another tank, so it instantly cycles it, Edison.
If you do, I would be surprised. You know what I mean? Like if you are buying a 2.5 gallon tank and you tell me that, I will look at you funny.
I would give you more questions than answers.
Yes.
Part of what you're saying is grabbing two things. Give them two things that work well together. Change the option for them. That they'll still grab two things, just two better things for the system.
How about instead of a tank and a fish, you buy a tank and a filter?
Yeah.
There you go.
In retail, it's what we would call is an attach rate, right? So they measure the amount of people that go into the store and then also the amount of people that go out with more than one item, right? AKA basically not just cutting even for your business. You're growing your business by buying two items.
Me going into a plant store, coming out with fistfuls of plants.
Right.
That I don't need or have room for.
Yeah, I was about to say,
already overstocked,
your wife
and you come out with like 5. Yeah.
Your wife is probably so happy about you going to that plant store.
She is extremely tolerant from what I've learned over the years. You know, like you hear
tolerant is the word.
Well, it's her. No, she actually says she really appreciates the tanks in the house. She loves the water. The light on at night. Sometimes if it's not too bright, like she enjoys watching everything. She's like, just don't ask me to do a water change. She'll feed, not bloodworms, but she'll do dry foods. But she's like, as long as I don't gotta touch anything, I love it. And if you love it, do it. But I hear some significant others can be a point of contention, to some degree. Yeah. So bless my wife's heart. She's very tolerant with the entire thing for sure. And water all over the place as our sleeves are always wet from doing our fish tank stuff. So
yeah.
Anyways,
going on with that attach rate, right? It's more meaningful, I feel like, to the employees, but also the customers if they were to attach two things that are beneficial, just like Kyle was saying, instead of two fish that don't belong.
Well, or like a fish in a tank. You can't just buy a fish in a tank in one go. That's not good.
It's hell.
Yeah, maybe that's just the policy. You just can't buy a fish in a tank at the same time.
Like
You can buy
I don't.
fish in
We have
fish
to
in a
do
filter
a
or
blanket,
filter in a
even if it's like I know some people like if I walk in there and I buy a fish in a tank, they're not going in the same sentence.
Yeah, you know
But
what you're doing.
you have to just make the blanket policy just to save those fish because most people are just going to impulse buy a fish
because they want to.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that's one thing I'm going to try
Because they
and
don't
do
know.
is just sit people down, say, stop and think about this for a second. I need you to think
You can
this
do that
through.
now. You can do that now. You're the gatekeeper.
I'm the gatekeeper.
It's really cool to say that you say that because at the zoo we have 2 Eldabro tortoises, one of which is 120 and the other one is 80.
Yeah.
And they were
They're
both
longer than both of us.
Yeah, they were
All of
both
us.
bought as pets originally, right? One of them, which was actually taken out of the wild at 40 to be a pet, and then his owner died 40 years later. And so,
Yeah.
like, you know, that's one of the things that we try to talk about, at least at the zoo, and I think a lot of people should be talking about in pet stores is, you know, the care requirements are also going to be this pet might outlive you. You need to make sure that you like, does someone else know that they are going to take care of your pet for you? Does someone else know that like you are going to leave them all of their junk? You know, it's just it's one of those things that a lot of people don't think about, but it happens all the time.
Right. I just want to like the first question I would ask is how long do you think a beta lives?
Yeah, that's true too. A lot of people don't know that.
Like
answer.
2 to 3 years.
2 to 5.
2 to 5.
5. Okay.
So depends on a lot of things, but 2 is like the low end. You know, they sometimes they get bred wrong and they just don't live as long, but some have superior genetics and and you know, more responsible breeders.
I have a shirt idea for Tanks and Banks.
Oh yeah.
You know, logo, the quarry. Underneath it just says it depends.
I love it. I
so
love
beautiful.
it. Sure,
beautiful.
Depends.
Simple.
One of these days, maybe next year for because April Fool's Day just happened, but maybe next year for April Fool's Day, instead of having the giant mission statement for our description on our channel, I'm just gonna say it depends.
It depends.
Everything. Where is that? There's like the do you need duct tape, and it always just filters to yes.
Yeah.
Or it just filters down to it depends.
It depends.
It depends. Can I keep this fish with this fish? It depends.
It depends. Yeah, it depends. That's awesome.
Well, and you know, it really depends. What are you trying to do? You know, it's one of those things that I love that that's our catchphrase now.
It depends.
And again, back to you being gatekeeper, you have the ability to guide a lot of people, which is cool. You know, think of it on a positive side. Your location has a resource that is going to be extremely beneficial, not only to the company, but the people that you're going to be interacting with and the locals that you're going to be guiding. You know, like you specifically in any location is going to be an asset to your area. So I think it's great that you took this job with the experience that you have, because it helps the hobby. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I'm excited about it. They're excited to have me, and it's like one of those things. Like I'm like excited to get out of bed to go to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's one of those jobs that I'm
day,
like,
man.
I'm jazzed. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I can't wait until next week when I bring my coworker on to duke it out over which big box is better.
Done.
We know the answer.
We know the answer, but she doesn't know yet.
The unnamed. No.
I think you know they both have a lot of potential to do a lot of good things. And really, from what I've seen, big box pet stores, it depends on the GM.
It depends.
It depends.
It depends. It depends.
Anything in life depends on the people that are there.
Mm-hmm.
None of anything would be around and existent without the people that populate it.
Right. So I want to be one of the good stores. You know what I mean? One of the good big box stores, because I actually have the power to change that, and it's kind of a good feeling.
And let me know when Boost is on sale, and I'll have you buy up all of it and ship it to me.
I did not know this, but the This is interesting news that how
Stroking out.
okay, no, okay. For some reason, it said that the corporate office of PetSmart was in Idaho Falls, Idaho. And I was like, oh crap, there's no way. There's no way I would have went my entire life without like knowing this, but no, it's in Phoenix. And that checks. Because I was looking up to see how close the headquarters were, because San Diego is Petco's headquarters. So
yeah, I like working for a California-based company because like I get breaks.
They force you to take breaks too.
They force me to take breaks. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, when I worked for Legoland, they literally got mad because I didn't take breaks for like 14 days in a row, and they were like, "We have to pay you for 14 days worth of work now, sir."
They're all done. Yeah. Take a couple days off, you're not getting paid for it.
Yeah, I'm supposed to take like 10-minute breaks every couple hours. I don't know what it is, and it's like this is an at-will employment state. This feels wrong.
About labor laws, I don't know. I don't pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we want to talk about? In a few minutes, or do we call it early?
No, other than the fact that I am planning, I think I already have Edison's video uploaded for the water chemistry video. And
it's already uploaded?
Yeah, I think so. If not, I'll do it tonight, probably.
Okay.
Updates, yeah, I mean, it's a good topic in general.
But it's updates. It is pretty good. It goes over
good.
Okay, it's really good. I did yell at Edison a little bit for being unscientific for a little bit, but you know, whatever.
He's young.
Here's the thing. I could go into the science of it. I could do it really scientifically, but here's the thing. I just wanted to show you quick and easy for me, for you, for
part
two. We're gonna have a part 2. And I've been I've decided I have another video that I've got an idea about that I'll run past you guys, but basically I want to have like a fish keeping for dummies video, but maybe not for dummies, but you know,
fish keeping 101.
Fish keeping 101. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But you know, it's like I've also discovered the power of AI that I'm too dumb to dumb things down in a way that makes sense. So I just run my script through the AI, and I'm like, hey, make this so like a 12-year-old could understand it. And it's like, got you.
That's cool. That helps you.
That's great.
Yeah, that's not a bad use at all.
Yeah, it saves me a lot of time instead of like, what does a 12-year-old understand?
Yeah, it's hard to take more complex topics and break them down into something that more the masses can understand. Not even the masses, but more so just someone who's less experienced, right? Because then you start popping off with carbonates and general hardness, and like you haven't covered that yet even, you know? So it's like there's that stare effect of knowledge that needs to be there. So yeah, you got to kind of not dumb it down because that makes the viewer sound dumb, but you have to make it digestible by those that don't have that foundation of knowledge. So
yeah, I've got a college degree, and a lot of people don't, and that's, you know, I'm not saying I'm smarter than everybody.
I'm just college ain't much anymore.
College doesn't mean
definitely true. That is definitely true. But there are things
like I've taken classes on general chemistry. Most people haven't, and most people don't understand it.
As I'm saying, it depends on what you took. I'm a communications major. You know, like what did you?
You learned how to talk to people. That's good.
I'm a politics major. What?
Yeah, art major. Even though I'm an artist to some degree, you don't need a degree for these stuff, people. What other videos do you guys have coming out?
Yeah, so I have that. I have the part 2 of the water video. I'm excited about that. I have a short idea that I've got going. To make it.
You got T-shirts coming that are. It depends.
It depends. I am straight up.
Now that you have actually said that, I definitely do think I want to order a dropship T-shirt and just see what happens.
We got to wear those T-shirts on stream now. It depends.
Yeah, it depends.
And then just like hit the it depends button.
Do this, Chris. Buy them on, because you can buy individual T-shirts on Sticker Mule.
Etsy or Sticker Mule. Yeah, either or.
Buy all 3 of us one, and I'll fund it.
Okay.
And then I think there's a T-shirt design thing on there. They're cheap. They're not expensive by any means. Like, and that way we can have it's a Depend shirt for when we're on stream. That'd be amazing. That needs to happen.
Or when we do like videos.
Instead of actively saying it depends, just be like, read the shirt.
You just. But seriously, if you have the time.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. I'll design it.
Actually, I may in the next couple weeks have the time.
Heck, I would buy a shirt like that.
But we could get some, and then definitely set up something for drop shipping them where, the connections where someone orders and then the company just shoots it to them, and you don't even got to worry about dealing with inventory and stuff.
Heck, I could even send them a moss ball.
Tanks and Danks or Science of Tanks, moss balls.
Yeah, our own moss balls that have like a lot of snails in them because the snails have gone nuts in there too.
Hey, it's natural.
Free snails.
Yeah, free snails included with each shipment. I love it.
Well, all right.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it for tonight. I gotta wake up tomorrow. Oh, by the way, I guess last bit of information. It's Earth Day tomorrow. Have fun.
Earth Day?
Yeah.
Earth Day was earlier this week.
Yeah, Earth Day was Monday. My guy.
Yeah.
We don't care about Earth Day here at Tanks and Thanks.
I was like, hey, my girls went to our local lake, and picked up trash, and they loved it.
Oh, that's awesome.
They thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah,
we running around.
We have like a huge Earth Day celebration kind of at the zoo where a bunch of sponsors come through and like they put up tents and stuff and they talk about like different things like renewable.
Yeah, I can see them doing that on a weekend rather than a weekend, for sure.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
But anyway,
well, enjoy your Earth Day tomorrow.
Apparently, there's gonna be 500 people there. I have no idea what I'm gonna do with my life.
That's a lot of people to educate.
Yeah.
Don't forget the sloth suit.
Yeah, I got to talk to every single one of them.
Yeah. Just show them videos or something.
Mike in face.
Hey, here's this QR code. Watch my videos.
Yeah, and then it takes them to the Tanks and Thanks podcast.
Yeah,
that's an easy way to get fired. Easiest way, in fact.
No. Your rock videos or something. I don't know.
Okay.
On that note,
I am Chris.
Medicine.
And I'm Kyle.
Thanks for watching Tanks and Thanks tonight, guys.
We love you.